Good evening to C2. We went early.
Go for it, Bri.
We'll start again. Good evening, one and all. Welcome along to Season 2, Episode 120. Oh. I'm cutting out again, haven't I?
Yeah, a little bit.
Mike, take it away.
All right, Mike. Then, yeah. It is episode 120. It is UK Cowboys TV. As you were saying, it's the breakdown series. First time we are moving on to the defense. So, yay! Something that all Cowboys fans agree the Cowboys, the actual team, the roster itself, need help in. So we'll start this week right in the trenches with the defensive line. We all know that the issue's there, but luckily for us, we got the old Gadgy with us, who's been in the trenches himself. I've been in the trenches, but a different type, so we won't go there. But yeah, how are we doing, Paul? You doing all right, mate?
I could be a little bit better. Besides my dog getting attacked earlier today, so I'm a wee bit shooken up. But other than that, I'm doing all right, dude. I'm just happy that we're finally talking about the defense. But I will be a lot better in the next 10, 15 minutes because I've got the pizza arriving. Oh, no. Yes, everyone. No. The pizza's back, everyone. The pizza is coming back.
Pizzagate version, whatever version we're on. Of Pizzagate. But yes, guys, it is the defensive line. So we're going to look at all the players, the statistics, the numbers. We'll get projections. We'll get your guys' opinions on all those guys as well, all the players that we talk about. We're going to start on the defensive end and work in. But what we will do is we'll start, as we do every week, with the news and updates. Nice and short, but this week, minicamp has officially finished. That's it. It's done. So they're now in the lull, where they're waiting to start the next stage, which I'll get to it in a minute. In other news, the Hall of Fame game, the date and the time is set. So all good news there. Can't wait for this year's Hall of Fame. Very looking forward to it. And of course, with as we mentioned last week, California was coming out of lockdown. That officially means that if the Cowboys were to go ahead, which they are, they're going to Oxnard this year. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! So that is good news. Mm-hmm. Ever been to a training camp at all, Paul? Yourself?
When I was playing, yeah. For the Pirates. But
not a Cowboys one, though.
No. I can't afford it. There's no way I could afford to go to California. And saying that, if the USA becomes part of the green light list, I will be in California for the Chargers game. So, and also the home opener against the Eagles. So, guys, if you're watching from the States, if the USA are going to be in the green light, you'll expect to see a kilted Scotsman being high and proud, representing the Cowboys internationally. So,
funny enough, I spoke this week with Shannon, our boy Shannon.
Yep.
Yeah, saying, "Are you coming over for a beer?" I was like, "No, Paul is flying solo, so you'll have to wait another year." Unfortunately, the Poland clan's growing, so that means I've got to spend money there.
That's right. You've got the wee Babbit on the way. Yep.
That is why the sofa is gone. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the sofa that is regularly sat on by my dog, he no longer can. He's actually sat on the floor now. But yeah, we're slowly moving things out of here. I'm kind of gutted. I'm going to miss this little office. The flags, taking down the flags is going to take me ages. Honestly, I'll take a photo of all, like all the games that we go to. I always buy a flag for it, and the wall is just caked in them.
Yeah. So what are you going to be doing with your office then? Are you going to be moving it downstairs or what?
Yeah, it'll all be downstairs then. So it'll just be exactly the same as this, but just in a different room. Doesn't make for great podcast talk in this, but
no. Yeah, it's a wee bit general chit chat from the start,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, get everyone in the mood, as they say. But talking of getting in the mood, you at home, everybody, get involved. Give us your comments. If you want a shout out, then just stick your name up. We'll shout you out. Let us know as well where you're watching from. We always like to know that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we always say, it's the world's team. But let's get into it, guys. Positional breakdown series, the defensive line. The way I wanted to start this is I wanted to ask you both a question. That is this defense generally, right? And forget about everything, just the players. Is this defense better or worse than last year, or the same?
It's a big question mark. That's from
your feeling, just a gut feeling, whatever.
I honestly don't know. That's the thing. That's my answer. I don't know.
Brian, you got an answer on that one? Go on then.
Yeah, exactly the same. I don't know. I don't think the secondary is better. Linebackers, who knows? Defensive line, that's Paul's area of expertise.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So, are you were about to ask me about the D line, weren't you?
No, but I was going to ask you this. Then we'll move on to the D line.
Right. Okay.
Does the hire of Dan Quinn make this defense better?
You would like to think so. I mean, he did okay. I felt like overall, like maybe not last season where Atlanta was his best overall season. It was without one of his worst of his coaching years. But when you took into account,
he did go to the Super Bowl.
He did. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Like when you put it all on average, he actually did a relatively good job with Atlanta in general. Just last year was just nothing worked for him, but he was more successful as a defensive coordinator, which was more of his bread and butter. Yeah. So the fact that we've gotten more back to that role, I can't see it being any more worse than Mike Nolan. No way that can be. It cannot get any worse than that.
Yeah, you wouldn't think they would be like in the bottom. Like if they were in the middle of the pack defense, you'd be happy with that.
Absolutely. If we've got a middle of the pack defense that can suppress all the other teams' offense to a certain extent, then it helps us. Because we've got the firepower in terms of offensively. We can name ball our offense as much as we want, and just we know for a fine fact our offense can deliver. Like especially now with Dak back as well, because when we saw Dak being forced against the ropes, even though it may have been garbage yards for trying to get a victory, but that Atlanta game last season is a prime example of what Dak can really do, and given the scenario where the defense were not up to the plate. So with Dan Quinn coming in, it might take the pressure off our offense to overproduce. If you know what I mean. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, Brian, but I think it's going to be a big plus with Dan Quinn coming in.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's be honest. He can't do any worse than Mike Nolan and Jim Tomsula did last year. I mean, they were rated the worst defensive coordinators in the league. So he is very low base to start from. And we can only go upwards.
And in the defense for Tomsula, though, he was pretty much running it through Mike Nolan's eye, because it runs down that system. You've got your defensive coordinator. He tells what he wants his defensive lineman coach wants to do. He tells what his cornerbacks coach wants to do. So it's all the blames on Mike Nolan essentially. Because when Tomsula was at San Francisco, he was fantastic there, as a defensive lineman coach. Not as when he took in charge of the head coaching role, it was a bit too much for him. But when you look at his record overall, when he was in NFL Europe for the Claymores, and I can't remember what other teams he was with as well, but his record as a defensive lineman coach, it was above average. He was a good D-line coach. But I think with Nolan last year, it's I want my players to do this and do that, and it might have been not what Tomsula had in mind. So he may have had to I'm not trying to make excuses for Tomsula, but I just kind of felt as though, so. But I know where you're coming from, though, mate, where it comes to Mike Nolan and all, mate.
Okay. Yeah. And then my next question, so we'll start with the players. So let's start with DeMarcus Lawrence. Here is my next question for you. That we've seen what this team is like with no Dak Prescott. We've seen that, and it falls apart.
Mm.
Are you guys quite happy to say that the next guy on this team, if he was to go out for the season, the team would fall apart, is DeMarcus Lawrence? Not fall apart, but we would struggle.
Well, go ahead, Brian. You go first, mate, this time.
I don't think we would. And the simple reason is guys on our offensive line, Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins, Zach Martin, we saw what happened when they weren't there. Mm-hmm. On the defense, absolutely. If DeMarcus Lawrence goes, the defense has a huge hole that has to fix.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anyone on the roster that can fix that DeMarcus Lawrence shaped hole. But he's top 5 maybe of our irreplaceable players.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like for me, like don't get me wrong, like D-Law does have his critics. Like he's
going to.
Yeah, so and he has to be when you're paying him all that money, and this is coming from our own Graham's notebook. He's getting paid all this money, but we're not actually seeing the production to value that money. So there's that.
I disagree.
But I'm getting to the other point to kind of back this up. It's like people know what D-Law can really do, and this is why he is the one that's always getting double blocked. He is the one, like, they're trying to put the ball away from D-Law. Yeah. So even though D-Law is not making any much production, he is technically, he's forcing the offense to go the other direction.
Yes. Well, here we go. Just to put it in perspective, because you were giving some facts out there. He's 29. We took him in the second round from Boise State in 2014. He's in the third year of a 5-year contract. But when we offered it to him, it was $105 million. So this year in 2021, it peaks, and that's $25 million on the cap. So it's a lot of money. Yeah, it's big bucks. It's big bucks.
So for that, I can definitely see that being restructured. Oh, excuse me, that's the pizza.
You go get that. And then when you go down that road, right, when you look at it, in 2020, and when you go through his seasons, they're very much consistent in terms of numbers statistically. That he's got 58 tackles, 6.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and 2 pass defense. When you go through his career each year, there's a little bit of differential, but it's very much a reflection of that, very much the same. I mean, like a lot of people will, and as they do, the first thing you go to when you look at pass rushes, you go to sack totals and you go, and then you go 25 million and 6.5 sacks. And that is where the issue comes from. That is the problem. But like Paul was reiterating, is what you don't see are the other statistical facts. And I'll put them up tomorrow on a post, because I've got some of these that in 2020, so you are aware, DeMarcus Lawrence's run-stop win rate was 32%. Do you know where that ranks in the NFL amongst all defensive players?
Top 10, is it not?
4th.
I was going to say top 5.
He sets the edge at the point of attack. He controls it, and he will not be bullied. And there's actually some other statistical points that you can make with it that is really surprising. That in terms of his run defense, these are the players he was more effective than: Khalil Mack, J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, Chase Young, and Tarell Basham from, funnily enough. But
the Dallas Cowboys.
He was extremely effective at it. Now, there's a lot that you can say with that, and you could be like, well, what's the problem with the Cowboys' run defense then? There's your problem. I know, we'll look into that. But like, obviously, the issue that you have is the very first fact that Paul made, and which is why I wrote that down, is that if you look at the way offenses play against the Cowboys, it's right down the middle. They don't bother trying to bounce it to the outside. They go down the middle, where they have 2 problems. The interior aren't setting an anchor, and the linebackers are they're biting before the ball. They're biting before they see it. So there's just massive holes in there. But the point you've got to look at is the glimmer of hope is that any running back that tries to bounce it on the outside to DeMarcus Lawrence, they know they're going to get stopped. So they don't even bother anymore. What is an interesting fact, though, is DeMarcus Lawrence's pass rush grade. Doesn't get many sacks, gets a lot of quarterback pressures, gets a lot of hurries, flushes the quarterback out of the pocket. He had a pass rush grade of 79.7. That is, in the NFL, amongst all defensive players, that ranks 7th.
Yeah.
I believe that's actually higher than Sir JJ Watt and stuff like that as well. I think he was ranked 15th or something.
Yeah, I didn't write that down. I did write some players down. His overall defensive grade is 88.6. So in the NFL, he's the 4th ranked defensive player. So he beat out, the only players he didn't beat out in the NFL, these 3 players were better than him. Khalil Mack, TJ Watt, and Joey Bosa. That's it.
There you go.
Every other defensive player, he was ranked above.
Even Aaron Donald?
Even Aaron Donald.
When you actually think about it, Aaron Donald is an absolute beast. We all know that. But I think a lot of people are now starting to kind of adjust to him now, especially from last season when you looked Aaron Donald was, even though he was getting the sacks in that, but he would be the one odd play when someone would come in for 3rd down or whatever and that, change the scheme and stuff like that. But I kind of feel as though Aaron Donald last year was not one of his best seasons.
And he's still got defensive player.
He's still got defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that can be said about DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, what for you guys is his biggest strength? What is it for you guys?
His ability
I think, to be fair, he does set. Go on, Paul.
I was trying to say that his ability to make offensive linemen make mistakes.
There is that.
And what I mean by that is
flags.
Yeah, well, holding is one of them. Obviously, as just
because the thing is that's something that people don't realize, that to make an offensive lineman put his hands on you and hold you.
I was going to say change the direction. He can actually fake step as if he was going into the 5-tech gap and move back inside to the free gap at the free tech.
Yeah.
So or C gap or to the B gap instead, because you take your first few steps, you can actually take the change in misdirection or throw the spin move to move into the B gap.
Yeah,
he's really good at that. But, and that's what forces a lot of double teams, because guards are now having to kind of wait to see what D-Law is doing. Is he actually moving back inside?
I've got that statistic too, but it's funny. I get you now, right? But the one point that you made is about penalties and holding. People don't actually realize that is also a skill for pass rushers, to make offensive linemen hold you so that they get a flag thrown on. That's an actual skill. People don't realize it.
Oh, trust me, I know. One thing I was taught, right, is if you can get your arm underneath the offensive lineman's armpit,
hook him, yeah,
get the hook through, right, and even though they're trying to block you, but if you can slightly turn your chest and look as though that the hand is actually going across your body, and if you kind of lean back, it kind of looks I know it sounds as though you're being dramatic, it's like Italian footballers being dramatic. That's pretty much what it is, and it is true. But for the referees, they see the hands going right across the whole chest plate. It looks as though that they're pulling them back. Therefore, it's holding. And it is quite. You need to be really good to really pull it off, bang all the time.
Exactly, it's a skill. But what for you, Brian? What is his biggest strength, DeMarcus Lawrence's?
He sets the edge. No one tries to go around him. He pushes everyone into the middle. he doesn't have the sack numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he also keeps that edge set. But it's not his fault. The guys who've been inside him have been virtual trash cans for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's unfair to say that of them too, because a lot of them are rookies or 2-year starters. You know, they've nobody to lead them because there's no veteran presence on that inside.
And the thing is when you look at the pressure he creates, you go back and forget about Randy Gregory because we get to him in a minute. Look at the guys that have been on the other side of that line. And every single defensive end that's come in, they come in on these 1-year, project programs with the Cowboys. They have this resurgence of their career. And they're like, wow, he's back. Look how great he is. Then all of a sudden they move on to another team and they just fizzle out. And we've seen that happen. And the only difference is that defensive end that's come in, now they just haven't had DeMarcus Lawrence on the other side. That's been the difference. And you talked about the double teams. Here's a statistic for you that his double team percentage. So DeMarcus Lawrence is double teamed on 35% of his snaps. That is the most in the NFL.
Yep.
Because basically, when you look at it, when you look at the offenses, they just go, well, who we got to be worried about? And then, we spoke about the other defensive end that teams, these offensive go, don't worry about him. We'll deal with him as he comes along. That's why they get these big sack numbers, because they're so concentrated on crashing over onto Tank side. They forget about this guy over the other side. And he's running free. He's absolutely going for it. Yeah. But overall, I mean, you guys, you think the 25 million then is worth keeping him on? The 25 million cap hit for this year. You're happy to keep him for that?
That'll get restructured. That will get restructured. I have that every doubt in my mind. I'll get restructured because you need to think about all the other players that we might want to sign next year as well.
I know we're not talking about defensive backs. That's in 2 weeks' time. I think they're getting a veteran defensive back. I purely feel it. You can't go out there with the two corners we've got going out for week 1. But yeah, I mean, that's Tank. I mean, we all know what he is and what he isn't, and he does too. The only other thing I wanted to add is his veteran presence as well as his leadership. I think this defense, without his leadership in general, is just a lot worse. I don't know what you guys make of that.
Yeah. I'd fully agree with you because we don't have anyone who's there longer than Randy Gregory on the opposite side. Everyone else has been there 1, 2, 3 years. He's your leader. He's your defensive line leader.
All right. I like that you mentioned him. Randy Gregory. So Nebraska, which is secretly Brian's team. He's 28 years of age, taken in round 2 in 2015. Bit of a controversial pick, this one, when it happened. But he's essentially he's on this 1-year type contract now with 2.2 mil. Here's one for you. I went back to have a look. So he didn't really start till week 6. He came into training. From week 8 to week 17, Randy Gregory, in every single statistic category, was a top 20 defensive player.
Despite he missed those 6 games?
That's from week 8 to week 17.
Mental.
Yeah.
So he didn't play enough snaps to get an official defensive grade. But if he did, his overall grade, which was 81.9, would have ranked him the 11th defensive player in the NFL.
That's what you've got for $2 million.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've got it this year.
So here's the thing with Randy Gregory. I love Randy Gregory when he's on the field.
I think he's brilliant.
Like, whenever we do see Randy Gregory on the field, you're guaranteed you've got that other edge rusher always, right? Like it's just a shame with the side outside of football that's actually affected him so much.
Yeah,
like,
and I don't think he's a bad person.
No,
It's
no,
just
not at all. Not at all.
a ridiculous rule that never made any sense.
Yeah, and he's been punished left, right, and centre. All these different bans cannot attend this, cannot attend this and that, and I just kind of feel he's been really hard done by. But whenever he does get on that field, like I will take this as an example. Tampa Bay a couple of years ago, he came. That was that one game of the season. He came in, I think it was, and he just completely destroyed Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Bucks, and actually made the forced fumble, and Jalen Smith managed to recover it and win it down for the touchdown. Like that to me, like that was like a coming out part. Like, okay, this is Randy Gregory when he's only like 60% effective, when he's not had a training camp or anything like that. When you put it into this season, he's allowed to go to training camp. He's had his mini camp. This is the first season he's had all this. He's allowed to attend everything. Can you imagine?
He's been in the gym with the boys.
Exactly. So he's allowed to participate full time on this with no suspensions, no restrictions, nothing.
Help from the coach. Looking at going into game tape.
So do you imagine when Randy Gregory is going to be at 100% capacity, where studying his game film, studying the playbook, the strength and conditioning, able to bond with his teammates in terms of we have got ourselves a potential monster in the making. And if I was Jerry, I would still give him an extension. I would, despite what's happening at 8, because I think within week 3, Jerry will be like, right, I better get this done before he wants to test free agency. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But, and then we have another summer next year then of wondering if he's going to get signed or not, like with Dak. And we're just going through it all over again, but a different name. But I mean, what is interesting is when we was talking about DeMarcus Lawrence, we were talking about
Dog just makes a great point there. The interview, talking about how Mike Nolan used them last year, which he didn't really use them enough. But whenever he was on the field, he was brilliant.
Yeah, he was fire, and as well as that, he's also said in an interview how much better it is with his past being around the team this year. How mentally it's helped him, and it's a unification. It's the brotherhood. It does help you mentally and to be prepared for it all. But when we were talking about with DeMarcus Lawrence, we said about how the guy on the other side, how DeMarcus Lawrence is so strong on this side, the other side gets left alone. Think about this. Imagine that is the case, which we've seen. We've seen it time and time and time again, year after year. But this time you're doing it with Randy Gregory, who we know is a legitimate pass rusher.
Oh, yeah.
Now imagine where you're going with this. And bear in mind, he had a pass rush grade of 81 last year. That ranked 12th in the NFL. He just didn't play enough snaps. He just didn't play enough snaps to have an official grade. But there was something else I wanted to point out as well. Because somebody said to me, well, what makes him so good? So I'm just going to go through these numbers, right? And you guys take a guess at what percentage he was in the NFL during the combine, his lowest percentile, right? His 10-yard split. So bear in mind, he's 6'5", 238 pounds, right? So he had a 10-yard split of bang on 1.6, not bad. 40 of 4.64, a vert of 36.5 inches, a broad jump of 125 inches, a 3-cone drill, this is just what blows my mind, 3-cone drill of 6.79 seconds.
Jesus.
There are wide receivers in the NFL that can't do that. In fact, DK Metcalf is twice as slow as that. A 20-yard shuttle, God alive, of 4.16. Yeah, shuttle, 4.16 seconds. Right? Now, of all that athletic testing, what was the lowest percentile? in all of those numbers? Just as a guess.
You're talking in the early 90s.
So
his test numbers were scary.
They are crazy. So his 10-yard split of 1.6 was 81 percentile in the NFL in history. Everything else is in the 90s. Everything. That's an athletic beast.
Yeah.
So when people say, well, how does he win? You go, okay, let me just explain this to you. He's fast, he's agile, he can change direction, he can turn on a sixpence.
He's strong as hell.
I don't even know where to start with to tell you how he wins. One of the things as well, although it's a bit of a downfall for him, is his snap anticipation. He is usually very, very good at it, but it can get him into trouble.
But that's lack of reps, though. That's down to
in some sense.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Like if you're like not getting as much game reps even during training or even during the game, that's going to have you have itchy twitchy fingers to jump. You know, I got you. Like I've been in that scenario. If I'm going in, I want to go in and improve a point. I want to be that too eager, right? And sometimes I'm that too hot. I'll just go and the ball's not even fucking snapped yet, and it's like, oh god, that's me. Jump a literal stone invasion. That's 5 yards down the line.
And also watching the game tape to look at what the quarterback does in terms of his cadence. You have more time training and watching the tape. You go, this is what he does. But I think Randy Gregory's in for a big season. And don't forget as well, because it's this weird sort of 1 year contract. It's basically a contract year for him. And what do we all know about contract years with players? They come balling out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. See after like game 3 or game 4, I just hope to God Jerry actually reconsiders getting his checkbook out and give him an extension.
But the next guy on our list is Terrell Basham. So one of the guys we signed from the New York Jets, we just named him a bit earlier. So he's from Ohio, 27 years of age, taken in the 3rd round by the Colts in 2017. So he's on a 2-year contract with the Cowboys, $5.5 million. In 2021, he's $2.5 million on the cap. What is surprising is he got 3.5 sacks last year and 3 forced fumbles.
So he's still an impact player.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I don't know what you guys think. I'll go through some of the numbers in a minute. The thing that jumped out at me looking at him is the arm length. Dan Quinn seems to be this arm length guy, and when you look at it, you go, okay, that fits.
If that's one thing that you could mention about her NFL draft was arm length.
Arm length. I mean, I've learned more about arm length this year. Yeah, but I've learned more about arm length this year with Dan Quinn than I have in any other draft. But I think they're going to definitely use him as a designated pass rusher. This is going to be our designated pass rusher guy on passing downs, 100%. Believe it or not, I went back to go and check. Did you know in 2017, he was one of the 30 visits at Dallas? So he's a name we're aware of. We brought him in. We knew about him. But everything I think about Terrell Basham, it's got a lot of Benson Mayowa about it. I don't know what you guys think.
That's a name I've had a long time.
Yeah. It's got that sort of feel to it. What do you reckon?
I would say he's slightly better than Benson Mayowa, to be honest.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, he's definitely a good backup to Gregory and D-Law, for sure.
I think he's going to be used differently than them pair, though. You'll have those pairs.
I agree in that way, but I'm thinking in terms of rotation.
Like if
if D-Law needs to come out, Basham will come in. Like he can still do a good, effective job. Maybe not as effective as D-Law or Redgrave, but he can still cause a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I just think personally he's going to be more.
I think you
go on, Brian. Go on.
I think you made the point that he's going to be more of a designated pass rusher. He's going to be used in your 3-4 base defense as one of your outside off-ball linebackers.
Yeah,
that's where his role is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of how the Jets used them, because he was kind of in and out in that position as it was. But just so you know, he finished the season, and this is on the Jets, with a 64.9 defensive grade. That ranked 58th in the NFL. So he was the 58th best defensive player. I mean, the only thing really, I was going through the numbers. What is impressive, at 6'4", 270 pounds, he ran a 40 in the combine of a 4.70. That's quick. On the speed size chart, he's right up in the top right-hand corner. So that's fast.
Yeah.
So that is
I think if we break up again, DJ Dobbs' point here.
Yeah.
About speed.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what you're looking at, you know.
Yeah. But the next guy is a guy we're already familiar with. It is Dorrance Armstrong. So he's only 24, believe it or not. It feels like he's been on the Cowboys roster for years. He's only 24. Taken in 2018. Yes, he's actually on a contract year. So this is year 4 of his 4-year contract. He's $1 million exactly on the cap, so not much in it. Last year was a bit of a down year for him. 33 tackles and 1 forced fumble, and he only got 1 stuffed play. You kind of want a bit more than that from him. Any of you guys? I mean, he is very, very different.
I think
to Basham. I will give you that. You think so?
I think he'll be cut. I think he'll be gone as well, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is the thing, though. Go on.
I mean, I'm sure Dorrance Armstrong's a really nice guy and stuff like that, but from what I've seen from previous seasons, I just kind of felt as he was just there just to fill in as a body more than anything. He didn't really cause any impact or cause any assistance to help maybe a defensive tackle take up a double team or anything like that. Like, I don't know. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm with Brian on this one. I just feel as though he's going to get cut. I don't see him getting a new contract with us at all. I can see him hitting the market end of the season as well. So,
but believe it or not, his cover skills are what set him apart from the others. He's great at covering. His run and his pass defense are extremely poor. But he had a cover grade for his position of 74.4. That's 14th best in the NFL, and he was the best defensive line player for the Cowboys when it came to cover or on-pass plays and coverage. So it's a lot different.
Wait. How does that make sense? If you're on the defensive line as a pass rusher and you're covering, how can you cover if you're on the pass rush? You know what I mean?
Well, you play the flats as well, didn't you? It's pass rush, yeah. You can still be designated a zone on a pass play.
I suppose.
No? You're not happy with that? Yeah? Okay, then. I was getting worried then. I was like, Paul.
It's probably just me. It's like, for me, I'm just like, no, it should be a more relatively straight, simple job. Just like, because defensive lineman is coverage. I don't know, man. It just sounds mental.
Yeah. You got to do it. But here's another guy that we've signed. I've got him down as defensive end because that's what he played up for his last team. but I think he's going to play defensive tackle for us, and that's Brent Urban.
Yes.
Now he's 30 years of age, 2014 fourth round from Virginia, picked by the Ravens. He's on a 1-year deal. So if the Cowboys wanted to cut loose during camp, they could. And he's only on the hook for $1.5 million. In 2020, this was his best year as well, by the way. 36 tackles and 2.5 sacks. In terms of, if you looked at him as an interior defensive lineman, he had a defensive grade of 76.5. That
From
ranked 22nd. Yeah, from last season. That ranked 22nd amongst all interior defensive linemen, which means that if you had him as an interior lineman for the Cowboys, he is our highest ranked defensive tackle on the roster, which is both good and quite sad.
I see Brent Urban as more of the replacement for Tyron Crawford.
Yeah, I can see where you're going there. Move him up and down the line.
That's a good call.
If you needed him to scale him, definitely.
Because he can be a hybrid, and he's got the size. I mean, he's 6'7". I mean, that is a big boy, and that's roughly.
He is a big guy. Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to remember what size Tyron was. I think he was like 6'5" or something like that. But either way, like, you can still move him and move Brent up and down each end.
Up and down.
Yeah. So
be that Swiss Army knife up and down there.
Yep. So I think he's going to be a big utility player. Like, you've got one of those players that can actually fit the position and do the job no matter what. Like in soccer, like you always had one of those players that could play midfield, up striker, and play centre back. Like
the target man.
Yeah, he's one of them type of guys, I think.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely been a. Oh, sorry, Brian. Where you go, mate?
No, I was just saying that was me in soccer.
All right, was it? Oh, no way.
Yeah, over 6 foot then, are you, Brian?
But you know what I mean, though?
Oh, there we go then. You are a target man.
So I definitely think with Brent coming in, like, is he going to be one of those players we expect a big, massive, major impact? Probably not. But what you are going to expect is him is actually going to do his job and help. It's be a team player. Like, he might actually get freed up because everyone else might be targeted, like D-Law and Randy. So he can still make a big, massive, major impact in the interior for sure. So I'm actually like, when we heard that he got announced, he got signed for us, I was like, hey, listen, I'm actually
sneaky.
I like this one. It's one of those under the radar signings that can.
And what's funny is at the time, I don't know if you remember when they signed him, a lot of Cowboys fans were like, "What the hell are they doing? Why aren't we?"
I liked it.
I did. I was all up for it. A lot of people, because they were all going, "What the hell is going on here?"
You know what it is, mate? It's because he's not a big name. That's it.
And it's not a huge impact type play, but it's necessary. It's a necessary pick or pickup.
When you think about it, like some players, like just because they're not a big, massive free agent, they're not always going to be guaranteed. Even the smaller free agents that you pick up might actually end up being the biggest thing that's ever happened. Like, I'm just trying to think I cannot think of any examples at the top of my head, like a smaller free agent who's like a fringe player made a bigger impact going in our team. In fact, Cole Beasley's actually kind of have a shout for when he left us to go to Buffalo. He actually made a more contribution to Buffalo as more of the second wide receiver compared to being a third string slot receiver. So So I suppose you can use that as an example, but in terms of defensive side, but I don't know where I'm going.
He's a big guy. He's a big guy. 6'7", stuff him in the middle. He's got no pass rush.
No,
he's got what you're gonna know is he's got no pass rush. I've looked at this. He's definitely going to be a rotational piece. He's more effective if you use him for 20 to 30 snaps a game. You can't expect him to go the full 60.
And Mike, and there's something just to add as well. When you watch the footage of Brent, especially when it was the Bears, right?
Yeah.
When you watch that game footage of with him at the Bears, right? where was he most effective in during the run game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here you go. Yeah, I mentioned him a bit earlier when we were talking about DeMarcus Lawrence, but he has a run defensive grade of 83.7. Do you know where that ranks?
Top 5, top 10,
Third.
I knew there was some stat that he was right at the very top there. And
so what I'm going to go back to, who was fourth?
D-Lo.
I mentioned this earlier.
D-Lo.
You've just got the third and fourth best run defensive player on the defensive line, going shoulder to shoulder. You've just crashed an entire side of the line.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that this was a brilliant pickup in that sense. You can see exactly where they're going and what the road they were going down. The next guy on my list, though, is someone that I'm less convinced about. And that's Carlos Watkins. 27 years of age. Yeah, 4th round pick from Clemson in 2017 to Texas, to the Houston Texans. I'll get it out. Yeah, I get it out. He's on a 1-year deal, 1.7 mil on the cap. Last year, he got 27 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 pass defense. That has been his best year. He's done the most that year than he's done any other year. In terms of everything else, I went to go and check the statistics and the grades. He's outside the top 100. At Houston, he was a bit of a defensive end in that 3-4 scheme. So I'm wondering if perhaps they're going to try and see how they work and manage that sort of role in him if they try and play a 3-4 defense at some point in the game. I don't know what you guys think. I'm less convinced with this one. I personally think that although he's a very low risk, it's a very low risk pickup, he's going to have a hard time breaking the roster. What do you guys think?
Carlos Watkins is going to be nothing more than a rotational player. That's
he does, yeah.
100%.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
do you know? Go on.
No, that was it.
Yeah. But I tell you what, it does scream at me though, Carlos Watkins. And looking at, if you just go and watch the play, and it's very ironic that Dan Quinn is here when this happened, that he's picked him up, the measurables, and if you watch the tape, reminds you exactly of Michael Bennett. When you look at it, you'll go, oh, hold on now. And you're wondering if perhaps Dan Quinn is just trying to do a little bit of sneaky peeky here with it to see what he can do to pull something out of the bag to get that type player.
Well, you're seeing that during the mini camps right now with Dan Quinn interacting with these defensive lineman players. Like, he is giving them actual coaching, whereas before, Nolan's in a bloody booth somewhere trying to oversee it and just shout whatever. No, we've got guys. We've actually got a defensive coordinator. Yeah, we've actually got a defensive coordinator that's actually like engaging. You know.
Yeah.
He's there and he's involved with the D-line guys. He's literally putting hands on them, showing them techniques, showing them how to move.
Yeah,
that's a coach. That's someone who wants to be involved. Not a guy sitting 100 yards away doing sweet ball.
Yeah.
Nailed
it.
Now, the next guy, I haven't got much to talk about, so I'm going to leave you guys talk about him if you want. Rondell Carter, undrafted free agent from James Madison in 2020. He's only 23 years of age, $780K on the cap. He is a exclusive rights free agent in 2020. So there's something there if you want to play with that. For me, I don't know. I think he's going to be a guy that just, because we brought him up from the practice squad, I think they're just going to put him back down again. I don't know what you guys think.
Probably.
Camp body, practice squad, if he survives.
Makes it to the practice squad, yeah. The next guy, here we go. This is the most controversial player for me on the entire Cowboys roster is this guy, and it's Bradley and I.
Really?
we were all loving this pick last year. And there is a reason why he never played. And I've got to the bottom of it. So he was a 5th round pick last year, 23 years of age, from Utah. 2nd year of his rookie contract, 83, 830K on the cap. But, I mean, I like Bradley and I, right?
I do too.
I think the explosiveness, the get-up, the speed and the bend that he's got is absolutely astronomical. It is great to watch when you see it. But I actually think that there's 2 players that we've spoken about that we like that I don't think are year after training camp. One of them is Noah Brown. I think he's going to be superseded by Simi Foco. And I think Bradley and I... Yes.
I'm going to correct you on that. I think Cedric Wilson is going to be replaced. Cedric Wilson's 2.1 million hit. Noah Brown will be kept.
I know, because of Noah Brown's special teams. That's the thing. That's the thing that keeps me. That's the controversial part. But with me, with Bradley and I think he's in the same boat. Yeah, I think he is very much going to struggle to make this roster, and it hurts to say that because I like him, but he couldn't break into the roster last year. We didn't even see him once.
Well, if all the guys that we mentioned, not even mentioning the rookies right now, you're talking about we'll probably have about 6 defensive linemen, like defensive ends, 6 of them. So 3 for each side, and that gives you still enough room to rotate based on what system is 3-4, 4-3 front.
Yeah.
So, and in terms of defensive tackles, you're talking about roughly maybe approximately the same. Yeah. So you're talking about 12 defensive linemen, but then you've got like some Brent Urban that we were just talking about earlier, who could be a hybrid fit in that category, left, right. So, but with Bradley,
it's so tricky. Because, like, here's the trouble with it. Here's the trouble.
Sorry, mate, but here's the thing.
Go on, you go.
And Dog mentioned this early on in terms of the upgrade of defense. So you mentioned, like, Neil, Parsons, Basham, Joseph, and Jabril Cox. They all have speed. If that's Bradley and I's has right now, it's speed. He has got speed. So with Dan Quinn coming in, I think it could be one of those ones that Dan Quinn's like, oh, I've got a wee gem right here. It's like, I might want to use him for maybe 3rd down situations or whatever and that, you know what I mean? And I can see Brian is like, So I'll let you go ahead, Brian.
No, you've nailed what I was going to say. I think, like, Bradley and I in Utah was a wrecking ball, and I think he's going to be a wrecking ball next year. I think I said 5 minutes ago Dorrance Armstrong won't be on the roster. Yep. Bradley and I is taking his spot.
I don't know. The biggest issue that we've got with Bradley and I think this is where it comes down to, is that is testing. When you look at it, is he's right. He's 40. He was 4.93. That ranks just at 50%, right? So then you go, okay, well, is he explosive? And we say he is. We've seen it. We haven't seen it in the NFL, but we have seen it on the field. But his vert was 31 inches. That's below the bottom half. So then his 3-cone drill is 744. That's below the bottom half. His bench press is 25 reps. That's below the bottom half. So then the point I'm getting to, though, is that his arm length is only 32 inches long. That's in the bottom 10%. So he hasn't got huge range, and he doesn't have great bend or explosiveness. So you've got to think to yourself, well, where is he going to get this win rate from in the NFL when he doesn't have a huge arm length and he hasn't got the speed? And I think that's why he struggled to get into the team last year, because although his arm length is short, he didn't have the other thing that he needed to get past that. Do you see where I'm coming from? Am I making sense?
Yeah, you are. But I think this is the thing with Bradley and I. Go back and watch his tape at Utah. Right.
Yes.
I know he was playing in Pac-12. And everything you're saying he didn't do, he did it on film.
Yeah.
And he's getting OTAs, he's getting the camp with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is going to see Jesus, I have a guy here. Let's see what I have with him. He's going to have to make, as I say, he has to make a call between Dorrance Armstrong and Bradley and I. And I think Dan Quinn is smart, and I think he's going to pick up an eye.
Yeah,
and he's going to do something with him.
And Mike McCarthy,
I want to see him on special teams. I think we see him on special teams on field goals. Him screaming off the edge, trying to come round and block the ball.
Oh, aye, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a spot for him, I think, that makes sense now. And then you can deal with the rest.
But naturally, if you're special teams, 9 times out of 10, it's always corners that are on the edge.
Yeah, agree.
So, but again, we don't know. And again,
you don't know how they're going to work it. Yeah,
it's John Fassel. It's Bones. So we don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Bones doesn't play by the rule book.
No, he does not. And I love it. I love it.
He's like Dr. House. But the next guy then is our rookies. We picked an undrafted free agent up, Azure Kamara. But the other guy we picked up in the 3rd round from Iowa is Chauncey Golston, 23 years of age. I do believe he's signed now. So that's that lot done. Anything you want to add? Because I know we've spoken about Chauncey Golston before. Anything you want to add to him again now in the positional breakdown before we move to the interior?
I'm happy that we've got Golston, but I'm just not happy where we got him at. That's the only thing.
So you're talking trade value?
Yeah,
draft value.
Sorry, Brian, you go, mate.
No, I was just going to say, and this was the thing a lot of people said, we overdrafted him, but then we underdrafted on Jabril Cox. If you flipped where we drafted those 2 guys, the story would be very different.
Absolutely.
You know, so let's see what we have out of camp. I don't think he's a defensive end. I think he's going to be used in the defensive tackle position as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really.
You'd have to pile on a bit more weight. Or do you mean more as a pass rusher from the inside?
Pass rush from the inside, 3-4.
That might work. I can see that working as a sort of like a hybrid NASCAR defense.
Because his measurables are pretty much like he's the same height as Randy Gregory, and he's like 13 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could do
a little bit more weight for the anchor, but if you wanted to play him as a rusher from the inside, I could see that working for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, let's move on then, guys, to the interior guys. Now, this is really what I've been looking forward to, the interior guys. So we'll start at the top with Tristan Hill. Now, we've seen him injured. Before he got injured, we really saw something coming along. And I always said, I've always been the proponent with Tristan Hill as defensive tackles, as we'll get to with Neville Gallimore. I always say, wait. They're not going to impact straight away. It's not like you wave a magic wand with them and they become these guys that can just pile men. So he's into his 3rd year. Now, Tristan Hill, 23 years of age, pretty crazy to say, taken in the 2nd round in 2019 from UCF Knights. He was the first pick of that draft because if you remember, we gave the 1st round pick to get Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Some people were on the fence with this pick. He's 1.3 mil on the cap this year. But really what we're looking at is it's the pass rush skills, which are great from the inside. The injury concerns are there, but man, this guy, and I'll talk at the end about a little plan that we've got, and I might do Tristan Hill to explain this a bit better. His explosiveness from the line. And they always say, and Paul, you'll agree with this, lowest man wins in the trenches.
100%.
And this guy, I don't know how a guy of this size gets so low. He is so low coming out of the blocks, and his snap into anticipation is unbelievable.
We'll put this in perspective against my guy, Neville Gallimore. Tristan Hill's 6'3" and bigger. He's actually bigger than Neville Gallimore.
Yeah.
And yet he still gets underneath.
he gets underneath them. And when you watch it, like you pause it. Well, you know, like on YouTube, you get a little bit of that blur when you pause it. You pause it and you're looking at it and you're going, Tristan Hill, it's impossible for a human being to be that far behind the offensive guard. How is he all the way over there? And he looks like a blur going past them. And you pause it and you're like, that's not possible. He's done something different there. I absolutely love Tristan Hill. And I think if it wasn't for the injury, we may have been even talking about a different type of defense and talking about Tristan Hill this year differently. But what do you guys like about him and dislike about him?
To be honest, I like the small glimpses that we did see him when he was on that field last season before the injury. That's all I could really comment on.
Yeah.
Why he never really played during his rookie season, we'll never know.
I think a lot of that was to do with attitude problems. Because if you take it back to the UCF Knights who he played for in college, he didn't play in his last season in college, and they were forced to bring him in the last in the bowl game that the Knights got to, and he dominated that game. I think it was literally 2 quarters he played and he absolutely dominated. Rod Marinelli fell in love with him from that. And then he got to Dallas and there was a lot of attitude issues. And that's why he didn't get on the field.
I think there was some of that. And you kind of see it in his interviews as well. But I don't think it's attitude. I just think that that's the type of person that he is.
Yeah.
And that maybe is... Fair. Yeah, you know, like some people have resting bitch face. You know, like that sort of deal. But let's talk about the next guy. The next guy I know, I'm just going to leave it to one guy here. Neville Gallimore, 24, taken in the 3rd round 2020 from Oklahoma. Rookie year deal, $1 million on the cap. Looking at his grades, across the board, they were average. Bear in mind, I'm a big proponent, as I've always said, wait for the 3rd year with defensive tackles. You always have to wait for the 3rd. The 3rd year is what you're going to get, right? Now, he was ranked 102nd amongst defensive players. So for a rookie, that is not bad at all. Not all of us can be Chase Young and break into the NFL that way. But
when did Chase Young become a defensive tackle?
No, Chase Young's
defensive player. Defensive player. Defensive player. But hit me with it. What's Neville Gallimore good at, and what's he going to be better at?
Getting off the ball and forcing offensive linemen back beyond the line of scrimmage. Bull rushing. That is his bread and butter. Right?
Getting an anchor.
Yeah, especially when it comes to pass rush. In terms of his run defense, he needs to be a little bit better. Still,
that's anchor. That's an anchor issue.
That's something that can easily be switched on. But when he was playing with Oklahoma, he was really good at it. Just I don't know if it was just because of the scheme under Mike Nolan. I'm not trying to make any excuses for Gallimore, but when you collectively put overall, when you saw Gallimore on the field, he did contribute. It was just a shame that we had a piece of crap on the other side of the ball, right? And then I will not be named. So,
and as well as you get him a year in the gym on an NFL weight program, on an NFL training program, on a dietary program, all the rest of it.
Have any of you guys seen Neville Gallimore's social media right now?
No.
Go and check him out right now. And look, when you compare him from when he came in as a rookie to now, he doesn't look soft anymore. He looks solid, absolute solid. So for me, I've got a lot of high expectations for him this season.
Yeah,
I think this season is, and this is going to be a bold statement from me, right? He is going to have a stellar of a year. I reckon he'll have at least 4 sacks.
And he's not that type of guy. He's not that sacky type of guy either.
Not. I think he will have 4 sacks.
Okay. I mean, what about for you, Bri? What is it with Neville Gallimore that we should be excited about?
As Paul says, bull rush. That's what you want from a defensive tackle. I think we're going to get to guys later in this, and it really depends on whether it's a 4-3 or a 3-4 where Neville Gallimore plays.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, we can't say this guy's going to have a great season, this guy's going to have a great season until we see on the field if it's a 3-4 or a 4-3.
Just to add on top of that, Brian, we don't know how he would fit on a 3-4 because we've never seen them play a 3-4.
Yeah.
So is he going to be a pure zero lineman nose tackle rather than a defensive tackle? We don't know. I don't know if he is that. I always see Neville Gallimore as like a 3-tech or a 1-tech, more preferably as a 1-tech, closer to the centre to get in the more that inside gap so he can close.
And you think
pressure.
as well, he spent in Oklahoma, he's spent a lot of time facing good offensive linemen. That's the Big 12. The Big 12 are renowned for it. So it should be interesting. But the only thing I will say is I always say it, and I'll say it even for Neville Gallimore. If we see an increase or an incline in him, that's great. But wait for the third year. Defensive tackles, you've always got to wait for that third year. That third year seems to be when they've got the bulk, they've got the body and the brains to go with the position. It just takes that amount of time. Not everyone, like I say, can be Aaron Donald or Zach Martin that just walk into it. The next guy then, I'm not too sure about, so I need you guys to help me with this one. Justin Hamilton, an undrafted free agent in 2015 for the Bills. He's 27 years of age. He's in the second year of his contract with the Cowboys, $920K on the cap. For me, I've looked at it. I mean, he played 5 games for us. He got 10 tackles. You know, at the end of the day, where he came from, FCS team. I think it was Louisiana Lafayette. I might be wrong.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just think he needs a lot of refinement. But the big thing I put next to it, you were waving your thumb, right? So I'll come to you. I put cut ?
Absolutely. Gone. Out the door. You've a couple of rookies there that are going to cost you less anyway. So bye-bye.
Well, I'm not in favour of him right now because what he's done with his number.
I have not seen that.
He's now the new number 99, which I'm not happy about.
Okay, I see where you're going. Yeah.
Oh no!
And everyone knows who my boy is.
No.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
Yep. So
I see where you're going.
I'm not too thrilled about that. I'm not too thrilled about that. The fact he's taken an old teammate's number, a teammate that he knows. I wouldn't be mad if it was a rookie that took it. For example, Quentin Bowana. If he was to take number 99, that's understandable. But Justin Hamilton, a teammate who was with Antoine Woods, just like, nah, I'll take your number, mate. Nah. Mate,
on your jogs, son.
on your go, mate. I'm sorry, mate. That to me, no, that doesn't cut it for me, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, we're all in agreement on that one. Now here's the next guy. So we're onto the rookies that we picked up this year. So we'll start with Osei Odigizua, UCLA Bruins, taken in the 3rd round. His brother actually played for the Giants. So a lot of Giants will tell you how lazy his brother was. Just basically, he does have a little bit of that, a lack of urgency, I will say. But his last year over at UCLA, 30 tackles, 4 sacks coming from the middle. I actually quite like the guy, and I put a post up on him this week. I'm not sure if you guys seen it yet. That basically from his conference, he was ranked 1st in. I'm trying to remember. Hold on, let me see if I can get the picture up. He ranked 1st. Here we go. Pressures. He had 25 pressures, which ranked 1st, and defensive stops, he had 19, which ranked 1st.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and that's the Pac-12, so a lot can be said about that. But it shows that he's got the ability to do it. What's your take, Brian, on Odigizua? Give it to me.
Look, you've said it. It's a project. It's come and talk to me in 2 years' time. Let's see where we are with him. You know, Do I think he's going to displace the two guys that are in front of him? No, I don't. But look, let's give him a chance. Let's see what he looks like in camp. Numbers look good, measurables look good, but you have to give him time on the field.
Yeah. What about you? What's your take on Osa then, Paul?
Yeah, just to follow up on Brian there, I see him. He's not going to be an absolute star for start, you know what I mean? So I think given time under the right coach and that, you'll give him time, you probably will contribute to the team. Depending on how the Cowboys are going to structure their roster, depending on how it is, you'll definitely be in the practice squad for sure. Like, if things were to go south in his direction, but he will be in the team.
Yeah, I think he'll make the team. I think practice squad is too far. If he goes to the practice squad, he's going to get poached.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah,
he'll get poached straight away.
He'll make the team. I think he'll make the team because we're going to go heavy on defensive end types. Brent Urban is also a guy who can slide inside, so I think there's no doubt he'll make the team.
And here's the crazy thing about Osa that people haven't actually realised. He's actually got an 84-inch wingspan, which ranks 92nd percentile. That's huge. You're just going to gobble any running back that comes in through that gap. That's a huge space to chew up. So it's just something. Go on.
Isn't he a former All-State wrestling champion as well?
Yes, he is.
One of those guys.
Yeah. 3 times. I think it's 3 times. I think he won it 3 times.
There we go.
We was going there, mate. The next guy is actually one of my most favourite picks of the draft. Quinton Bohanna from Kentucky. 6th round pick. This guy is a nose tackle. What's funny is I wrote it in big pen too.
He's not a defensive tackle. He's a pure natural
nose.
NT. He is a zero. He is designed for the 3-4 defense.
Oh,
purely for that.
What is funny is I wrote on my bit of paper next to Quinton Bohanna, and I wrote it in big pen as well. I wrote big.
Can I quote Graham on this?
Go
the
for
first guy off the friggin' bus.
Yeah.
See, for me, if you were to put a comparison of what type of thing you would expect to see in the field, maybe not as impactful, I will say that, but what he can do in terms of hogging up the offensive line is Vince Wilfork.
Yeah.
What Wilfork what Vince Wilfork could do, he can actually smother in 3 defensive guys and not move them back.
Yeah. Just get your arms in there and just clog the hole. But what is good that you mentioned about that is I think what Dan Quinn is going to ask him to do is play the 2-gapper. And that is, with the size that he is, he'll be able to do that 2-gapper type player perfectly. He'll be able to drift over both shoulders because he's just that big.
Yeah, if he can blindside the guard, holy crap. That guard is going to be absolute toast.
Yeah.
Because they won't see it coming.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this was one of our better picks.
Oh, absolutely.
And when I was looking at it, the first thing that popped...
I rate this pick higher than the Jabril Cox pick.
Yeah, in some sense, I see where you're going. Not just for his ability, but for the type of role that he will play on the defense.
Yeah.
He's that 2-gapper. He is a 2-gapper defense in the middle at that 0 position, like you say, and he'll play it perfectly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing about him is he's also a nasty boy. Which we haven't had for years.
That's the thing, though, Brian. And this could be said about a lot of the rookies that we did. I would say 75% of all the rookies that we did draft, even the offensive linemen that we drafted, which is still
At
questionable.
the end, yeah.
But if there's one word that you can associate with the majority of all these guys that we did, Britain, and you just said it, is nasty. Not every single one of them, but the majority of them are nasty. They have a nasty, like, they just want to smash mouth football. That's exactly what we need.
I'll be honest and say, do you know what this reminds me of? Some of Jimmy Johnson's drafts. Fast, attitude, nasty, will go after you. That's the type of players we have looked at in this draft as, and I like it.
Listen, if we can get 15 Kevin Gogans on our team, by the way, then
and like, here's the thing that you've got to look at as well, right? That he is a pure nose tackle, and people are not dismissing him, but like, oh, he's a 6th-round guy. Okay, name me how many nose tackles are taken in day 2. Not many at all. Nobody really, because you don't need to. It's like taking a punter or a kicker or a long snapper. You're not going to take them in day 2 because that's what the nose tackle is. Or if you're the Cowboys, but yeah, I mean, like, you don't go out and you don't go and draft a nose tackle. It is going to happen because there are those type of players out there, but it's not that often. Just the same as there are teams that take punters and kickers in day 2. It's just the same thing with a nose tackle. And that's what I was trying to explain to people before. Is like, look, he's a nose tackle. You're not going to draft him in, the 3rd round or the 4th round. It's just way too early for that type of player. And then the last play we got then is an undrafted free agent from Oregon, Austin Faulu. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. I think he's just an outside guy. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I checked his statistics, and he's got a handful of tackles on one particular season. And that was about it there. But do you guys want to add anything more to the defensive line guys on the positional breakdown series before we move it on? And we wrap things up.
Well, there's Austin Filio as well.
I just mentioned him. Mentioned him.
Sorry, I was on my phone there. Sorry.
Yes, I know you was. It's good that you're with us there, Paul. Good that you're with us. Thank you very much.
Sorry, it was just
I'm not asking who was on the other end of that phone call.
It was my mum.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of spoiled our fun there.
It did.
Yeah. No, she was just asking how my dog was doing.
No. We can't say anything bad. We can't say anything bad about Mama Stewart.
No.
I can.
No, well, we're not.
Nope.
She's gonna make a ale pie for when I come up to visit you. No? Oh, all right then. I'll leave it at that then. But that is it for the positional breakdown. Yeah, all right then, you cook it. Let's check out your cooking skills.
I'll just write my pictures and hear it.
But we'll quickly wrap things up, guys. I'll pay the bills and let you guys finish the show off as we do every week. So, guys, of course, here it is. Yeah, Cowboys Experience. If you're going to a game this year, make sure you book it with Cowboys Experience. They have game day tickets, game day packages, stadium tours, and tailgate parties you will not want to miss. Obviously, if you go to any of the events, send them to us. They go straight to the top of our social media as well. And obviously, make sure when you go to book it, you use the booking code UK Cowboys. Because guess what happens when you do, guys?
You get free stuff.
Don't be a clown.
It ain't that hard. You just say the word. It's even got the word Cowboys in it.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, yeah, that is it. Next week we got linebackers, which should be even more fun. I do like doing the defensive linemen, but the linebackers, I think this is going to be the finicky one. And we'll get a special guest on as well next week. Won't say who it is just yet. He has been on the show before, but we'll get a special guest on to talk about the linebackers. We'll have him to come in and give us a bit of swagger and a bit of his own take.
Well, you kind of have to give it away by the 50% now. You'd already said it's a he.
Yeah,
true. Or
I know.
Or was that a red herring?
Oh, for God.
I know some girls who'd be very disappointed to hear that.
But guys, it has been UK Cowboys TV for another week. Thank you very much for watching us and giving us your likes and all the rest of it. Rate as well our podcast and YouTube channel. If you get a chance, just give us a thumbs up. That would be most appreciated. And we will see you next week when we continue the positional breakdown series and get a little bit closer to camp. So take it away, guys, and we'll finish the show off.
Catch you later.
Good night.